Thank you very much, Julie, and I especially want to thank Colliers International, the Federal Reserve Bank, and our good friends at ULI for putting this program on. And Casey, it's terrific to meet you and hear what you've got to say. So there's a lot happening in St. Louis right now. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of really terrific assets and activity here that we need to focus on and do things a little better. So, point of context, the St. Louis region, actually it's no longer 16 counties. We were told on Friday by the Office of Management and Budget that they have, for some reason, eliminated Washington County from the St. Louis region. So now we're 15 counties. These are all based on commuting patterns, and these are updated every 10 years. So, for all intents and purposes, this is the St. Louis region as you see it, but we'll have to eliminate Washington County in our next map. And here's a little look at the runways and the roads and the rivers that really established St. Louis and make us in part what we are today. Briefly, by the numbers, we're the 19th largest metro area in the country, almost 3 million people, and about a $130 billion economy. That's bigger than a lot of states. A quick word about the Chamber, if you're not familiar with us, and we have several of our board members here. Bob Witterschein, it's great to have you here this morning. We're actually a single coin with two sides. So on one side of the coin is our regional chamber. The chamber does what chambers all over the world do. I think we're especially good at public policy development. On the other side of the coin is our Regional Economic Development Initiative, which includes things like business recruitment, business expansion, entrepreneurial development, and talent. And we try to provide a single source of services for any type of needs that a person searching for a site in St. Louis or looking for an expansion in St. Louis can possibly want. So about 2009 timeframe, we started to look at the strategic plan we had, and we recognized it needed to be updated. So we got a lot of expertise and a lot of help, not only here in St. Louis and around the country, to develop a new strategic plan. And as we looked at the plan, we said there are 4 core principles that need to be in place in order for us to build this plan from the ground up. And briefly, today's economic environment demands a balanced approach to economic development. Now, in the past, we were pretty heavily balanced toward business recruitment, and that's a very important function. In order to find new jobs, new employers, new entrants into this market from a business point of view is critical. But in order to have a more balanced approach to economic development, we had to take a close look at not only business recruitment, but business expansion. Who are the companies and in what sectors here in St. Louis are growing and will provide the most growth for the future? And then what about entrepreneurial development? What can we do working in partnership with a lot of other folks to help entrepreneurs grow? And then Casey stated it in his presentation, our second core principle is that in order for us to be significant and recapture our relevance as a center for commerce, we've got to recapture that center for transportation and logistics, which is the whole reason why St. Louis was established in the 1760s as a center for commerce and transportation. The other 2 core principles, we need to have a purposeful alignment between the supply of talent and the demand. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward into this presentation. And last core principle is if we're going to be successful at all, then we need to work in very close partnership with everybody in this room, with everybody from throughout the region, and especially with some of our very key partners like the St. Louis County Economic Council, Denny Coleman, Doug Rasmussen. There's a lot of excellent economic development groups throughout the region, whether it's the state level, the county level, the local level, or the regional chamber. If we're going to be successful in helping to recruit business and grow our target industry sectors, we're going to all need to work together. And our strategic plan covers many, many pages of very good work. But I think you can summarize it all on this one slide. We're a broad community of leaders, and that means, again, everybody in this room. If we're going to be successful in achieving our plan, it's not just the chamber, it's not just our partnership with the County Economic Council or with our board of directors. The whole community needs to buy into this. And our aspiration is for St. Louis to be not one of the top 25 metro areas, because we're the 19th largest, but if we're going to be successful at this plan, we're going to be in the top 10 metro areas in many of the measures of economic prosperity that Casey talked about. Our plan goes on to say, why do we exist as a chamber? And we have basically come up with the statement that our one purpose is to inspire a greater St. Louis. And if you've heard our new CEO, Joe Reagan, speak, or if you've heard others of us speak, or our new chairman, Danny Ludeman, President and CEO of Wells Fargo Advisors, we're all about inspiring a greater St. Louis to achieve these goals. And going on, we're going to win on some regional strengths and focused economic clusters. And that's going to be the heart of my presentation. But before I move on, I think it's important to say we are going to champion a better tomorrow through greater educational attainment, economic inclusion, and innovation and entrepreneurship. So what are the sectors that we think are going to be important going forward? So here they are, and we're going to take just a brief snapshot of each of these. And I know most of you are from St. Louis, and you're familiar with these different industry sectors, but maybe there are a couple things you don't know. So as Casey said, financial and information services, really one of the tops in terms of what we're doing here in St. Louis. We have the third largest concentration of securities brokerage employment in the country, so that's top 10. We've got incredible assets, we've got incredible companies, and as Casey pointed out, over the last 5 years, cities like New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Atlanta lost nearly 40,000 jobs in the financial services sector. We, in the last 5 years, added almost 6,000 jobs during that time. So where's the promise? Here's one of the places we think we're going to find it. The health science and services, and to explain that a little bit, it's not just the hospitals, it's not just the people who are making pharmaceuticals and medical devices, but it also includes the great services companies we have here like Express Scripts and Centene. So if you look at the total employment in that sector, obviously it's huge, almost 2,000 people out of our roughly 1.4 million workforce. And we're also the third largest concentration of hospital employment in the country. So things are moving and growing there. A big part of Casey's talk was about logistics and multimodal. We have all the modes of transportation here, the roads, the rivers, the rails, the runways, and we've got a lot of work right now going on to see that these grow, and we want to do it wisely, and we want to focus on the areas that are going to provide the most benefit for the community. Advanced manufacturing, still about 8% of the folks employed here in St. Louis are employed in this sector. We make everything from dishwashing soap to the best tactical fighter jets made anywhere on the planet, and a lot of different products in between. We have a great deal of growth in this area. In fact, when I look at our pipeline, the types of projects that we're working, about 50 projects, almost half are manufacturing. These are either manufacturers that are here that want to grow, or people that are not in this region yet that want to be here and take advantage of the strengths that we have. The fifth sector, plant sciences and ag tech, and arguably St. Louis region is a top tier region globally in this sector. We've got industry leaders like Monsanto. We've got the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center, arguably the best plant science research institution privately funded on the planet, and a lot of other assets and trade associations like you see here that are adding to the growth and the strength of that industry within our region. And this all really adds up to having one of the strongest Fortune 1000 headquarters presence of any region in the country. We have 21 Fortune 1000 headquarters. You're all familiar with these names. We've also got a large number of some of the largest privately held firms in the country. And what this really means is the St. Louis region is competitive, it's vibrant, and we're moving forward. And just a brief snapshot of some of our largest employers. And you can see how important healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, education is to the region. And that really leads into the next slide, that we have to create a pipeline for talent. You know, I talked about having a meaningful balance between the supply and the demand for talent. And we're very fortunate. We've got some of the best universities in the country. We've got 30 colleges and universities that are creating the pipeline for tomorrow's talent. And we talked, again, about top 10. So if you look at the St. Louis region in terms of degrees that are awarded annually, we're 14th in the country. That makes us a college town. And a lot of people don't think of us as being a college town, but we're creating the pipeline for tomorrow's jobs, for tomorrow's skills. And you can see per capita, in terms of doctoral degrees, master's degrees, we rank even better than 14. We rank in the top 10. So this is going to be critical to our future. But our future does depend on talent. So as you can see, those industry sectors that I had out displayed a minute ago, the new jobs that are going to be created in those sectors going forward, 2/3 are going to require a bachelor's degree or better. But only 1/3 of our workforce today, as well as we're doing, has a college degree. So we really need to do better. And the surprising thing is in our workforce today, working adults, over 400,000 of them have some college but never finished. So there's a lot of programs going on right now, some being led at the Chamber, in order to reach these folks, have them work through their employers, work with the universities, and get those degrees. Because we're not going to be successful going forward unless we can make things happen in that regard. And this kind of shows you where we stack up against some of our peer markets. And again, for us to be in the top 10 in terms of college attainment, we're going to have to add 75,000 degrees. So if you look at the current trajectory of where we are today, we're going to need to do 75,000 more in order for us to be in the top 10 in the 2025 timeframe. And so again, this is going to be an area of focus for us. And at the end of the day, higher college attainment means higher earnings per capita within your region. And that's what we're all about. Another real important thing I think that's happening right now in terms of the pipeline and in terms of talent is immigration. And as you can see from the statistics here, the Midwest, so not just St. Louis, but the entire Midwest, slow population growth with a really urgent need for new, educated, high-skilled talent, as well as unskilled labor. So all different facets. If you look at the St. Louis region, again, we're part of the Midwest, so that slow population growth is here. And our immigrant population, so the current part of our metro area, about 4.5%. But the St. Louis Regional Chamber and many other of the industry and business leaders from St. Louis were in Washington last week, working in close partnership with the Chicago Council of Global Affairs to talk about immigration reform. And our group from St. Louis met with several of the congressional delegation, not only from Missouri, but from Illinois during those meetings in New York to make the case for immigration. Again, this is going to be an important part of our future going forward. Changing gears a little bit, I was asked to address just a couple of things about how we measure success, how we market the region, you know, some of the other events and activities that are going on. So I'll very quickly go through those in the couple minutes I have left. So 2012 was a good year, not a great year, but these are the kind of successes that we have. And you can see they were in, you know, the target sectors that we just talked about. One of the big successes was Wells Fargo Advisors. They're taking some existing space that they have, underutilized, and they're making that an asset, not only for Wells Fargo, but for the entire region. This is a project we worked very closely with the city of St. Louis, added 450 new jobs, and we're very, very confident there'll be more jobs coming going forward. Another one of the successes, kind of an interesting one, Aerovac Life Team. This is a company that's been around for about 20 years, born and bred in West Plains, Missouri. And that's a long way from here. It's a long way from an airport. This company had terrific growth. They just reached their 1,000,000th member about a year ago, but they found it was difficult to attract and retain talent. And so they hired Deloitte Consulting out of Chicago to help them look at a number of metro areas around the Midwest, a place where they can put their new corporate headquarters. Last summer, they chose St. Louis to do that, not only for the talent, but also access to the airport so they can move parts and people where they needed to be to their different centers around the middle part of the country. In terms of marketing, we do a lot of what I'll call one-on-one marketing. And we work very closely with people called location advisors. And these are people that consult and work with companies on where their next expansion or where their next new office should be, like I had mentioned Deloitte Consulting. We also work with corporate real estate executives who are the ones really making the decisions. The advisors can advise, but it's the corporate real estates and the folks in the C-suites that make those types of decisions. And so last year we visited 20 different markets, some here in the US and also in Europe. And we held over 120 one-on-one meetings with some of these key decision makers to make sure St. Louis was top of mind. We use special events to get our message across too. Some of those events take place here in St. Louis or in the region. Sometimes we'll go on the road. We went to Washington in August and used an occasion of the Cardinals playing the Nationals, invited about 25 different of these decision makers. Again, fun evening, lots of relationship building, but it helps us get the message across. Then about 5 days later, we were at Royal Albert Hall in London, where the St. Louis Symphony did a rousing performance for 7,000 people. We had, again, a group of about 25 top-level business executives from London enjoying the show and getting the message about St. Louis. To kind of wrap things up for me, another one of the selling points as we go out and market the region, this is a pretty darn good place to live and work and invest. We've got one of the best costs of living anywhere in the country, housing especially, an incredible value. We've got lots of rankings, lots of positive press and positive rankings. Here's just a few. The one I really like is Best Cities for Cheapskates. Kiplinger's came out with that about a year ago. And what it really means is you've got a lot of arts, a lot of culture, you've got a good cost of living, a lot of the things that you can do for recreation are free, and then also they said the number of Dollar General stores, but I guess there's a lot of those. So we've got a lot to talk about, we've got a lot to be proud of, and it's being recognized around the country.